Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryder, and this is your beginner's guide to Moira. In this video, we're going to go over the abilities and playstyle of Moira and kind of give you a breakdown of her strengths, weaknesses, some tips and tricks with her, things like that. Things to kind of help you get started with her so you can jump into quick play and some early competitive and kind of understand how she functions so you're not going in completely blind. Keep in mind, this is just a starting point for you. It's not going to get you to Grandmaster or anything. It's just kind of a way to get you a working building block, so to say. To really master some of the heroes in Overwatch, you do kind of need to practice things. Before we get started, please feel free to hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, check the description down below where you can find my Twitch link, where I stream pretty regularly on there. Hopefully I'll see you guys in that. Without further ado, let's jump into Moira. So, Moira is a support hero. Whenever I say support hero, basically what that means is your primary job is to heal your team. That is your primary job, is to heal your team and keep your team alive in team fights. Now, that being said, support heroes are more than just healers. They can also support your team in many different ways as well, to help them maybe get some good picks in a team fight, or provide support in many different other ways. And Moira has a lot of tools to really help her team out. So we're going to jump into that here. Okay, so Moira has basically her primary fire and her secondary fire, her left click and her right click. Okay, is going to be what you're going to be called. So she uses all of her abilities from her hands. Your left click is your heal, your right click is your damage dealing. That's the easiest thing to memorize there, right then and there, okay? Now, when you're holding your primary fire button down, you will send out a steady stream of healing. As you can see, there's a meter on the right. That meter is your healing meter. That's your gauge. When that empties, you cannot spray no more. The entire time that you're doing this, you're healing, okay? But when that runs out, it runs out. You cannot heal no more until that refills. Very, very low. Now, you can refill this gauge by your secondary trigger, dealing damage to the enemy team. Holding this down next to any enemy player will refill that gauge at a very fast rate while dealing ticking damage to that target. Moira can pump out quite a bit of damage, to be completely honest with this. I've seen Moira actually do some stupid, ridiculous damage with this if she's left unchecked. But right after you deal enough damage to refill your gauge, then you can go back to healing and keeping your team alive. And oh my god, I'm out of gauge. Let me drain people some more and get my bar back full so I can heal some more. Now, let's say you're not close enough to the enemy team to do any damage. Well, never you fear. That's where her other ability comes in. You can hit the E hotkey, which I don't know what that is for console, I apologize, but you hit this and you have your choice of throwing an orb out. Left trigger sends out a healing orb that will bounce off the wall, any wall and surface around the area, and heal any target caught in its path. Your right one sends out a damage orb that does the exact same thing and deals ticking damage to anything it comes into contact, any enemy it comes into contact with. So I send this out, it just healed all those targets. This thing has about a 6-second cooldown, so keep that in mind. Then you can send this out, and it deals ticking damage to all those targets that it goes through, okay? Now, this damage orb also does the exact same... Well, I actually sent out a healing orb there. But, okay, there. I'm out of healing gauge. Send this out. Ticking damage from that also refills my healing gauge. As you can see, it gave me a couple of ticks of my healing gauge. So that's another way to get your healing back. So those are her primary abilities. And then she has her evasive ability, which is her shift. You hit the left shift ability, and she'll shift in whatever direction you're moving in. This has a 6-second cooldown, so it's not infinite, but you can use this to maybe dash behind an enemy team, and you can provide a little bit of damage, pick off a low health target. You start getting focused while you're back there, and you can just shift backwards, right back behind your teammates, and you can get away and continue doing what you're doing. And then, of course, you have your ultimate, which is Coalescence. Coalescence is a big beam she shoots forward. This does two things. It basically combines the healing beam and the damage beam into one. It will either pump out a bunch of heals to your teammates that are caught in the path or deal a bunch of damage. This beam goes through shields, so Reinhardt shields, Sigma shields, Ramatra shields, Brigitte shields. All these shields useless to Coalescence. This does a pretty hefty amount of damage. It also does a pretty hefty amount of heals. So don't be afraid to use this, not just offensively, but defensively. If you notice there's a bunch of incoming damage on your team, you can pop Coalescence, and you can keep your team alive through a lot of it. So those are the abilities of Moira. Now, as far as playstyle, some tips and tricks to think about. The main thing to focus on here is understanding the balance of healing and damage. I've seen a lot of Moiras focus way too heavily on dealing damage over healing. You don't want to get caught into this. Don't be a DPS Moira. I know it's fun, it's tempting. You can actually pump a lot of damage. I've seen some DPS Moiras absolutely carry. In the lower elos, you can get away with that, but as you start to climb, you will have more and more challenges with that type of playstyle, because you will have people start to focus you and they know how to counter you a little quicker. It's better to use Moira's damage as an emergency route to try to get your healing back, or an emergency route to try and just pick off a low health target. Let's say, a Pharah's up in the sky and it's low health. This thing has pretty ridiculous range, to be completely honest. You can shoot this up into the air. This thing hits from pretty good distance. See, I'm clear back here and I'm still able to hit. I'm all the way back here at this target here and I'm able to still hit that target. Moira's brain the range on it is pretty silly, so you can tag her Pharah and drain her down pretty easily. So if you see low health targets, you can pick them off, but primarily you should be focusing on keeping your team alive. Also, don't worry so much about getting it. Like, if you run out of healing juice, right, you don't want to dive into the enemy team and just be like, oh, I need more heals. Don't forget, you have your healing orb, and it heals for a really good amount. As you can see, I'm able to keep that healed both of these bots up almost a full in that amount of time. So if you're out of healing juice and you just don't have the ability to heal right now, throw that healing orb down and then just kind of like hold this out and hope that you can maybe get an easy pick here and there, or something like that. And play your corners. Try not to get picked. Pump up what heals you can. Throw another healing orb out. Do that again. Those are the things that you can do to kind of keep yourself going. You can also, if you see a big group of enemies, you can send that damage orb out, and that'll keep you going and keep your heals going. Don't be overly aggressive with Moira. I can't stress that enough. It will get you killed, it'll get you picked, and your team will laugh at you and they'll hate you for it. The other thing is that you don't want to hold your stream down. Okay, don't hold your healing stream down like I'm doing here. This heals for a really high amount. You don't have to hold it down the entire time that it's out. I'm going to take this bot, for example. All I do is tap it just a little bit, and you see how much I healed them for, and it's still ticking. It heals for a couple seconds after you hit it. So you don't have to sit there like, oh my god, the tank got slightly tagged, let me heal them to full all the way. No. I'll sit there and I'll let them, oh man, I'm going to throw a damage orb out, stuff like that, maybe drain a little bit, let me pump a heal there. And I'll go back into it and go back in. See, he's still getting healed during that time. Oh man, he's still not topped up, I'll throw one out. This allows you to focus a little bit more damage output, as well as not drain yourself dry for those moments when they're really getting focused. Now obviously, if a tank's getting really focused or a DPS getting really focused, yeah, the stream will help, but it's not necessary. You don't have to hold this down the entire time. You just tap it once and it heals over time, a little bit after the fact. You don't have to sit there and stream the entire time. So that's one thing. It took me a while to really remember that and notice that that is it's not necessary to just hold it down the whole time. Another main thing, and I say this with a lot of my support videos, play your corners. Okay, don't play out in the field in the middle of BFE where you can get picked by a Widowmaker or a Hanzo, or where you can get completely hooked by a Roadhog and completely deleted. Play your corners, you know, like you see me over here playing this corner here. If there was a Roadhog here and they're trying to hook me, well, the hook's going to go in a straight line, okay? He's going to have an easier time hooking me if I'm out here healing my team compared to if I'm over here, still within line of sight of my team, but I'm blocked behind the wall. So now he has to go through my team to get to me. Okay, that's a main thing I can say in a lot of my support videos is play your corners. Don't be out in the middle of BFE if you don't have to be. Obviously, you'll have to kind of be out, but the same thing applies to if you are DPSing a target. You know, if you see a target that's low health outside, you can stay here. Look, this bot, if it was an enemy and he's DPS, he doesn't even see me doing this. You wouldn't even see me doing this. His partner would be just getting completely destroyed and decimated that they wouldn't even notice. But just play your corners. As a support hero, you don't have a lot of health. You're not going to survive long in a super long team fight if you're being focused. So utilize your shift ability, get behind cover, utilize that cover effectively, and, you know, if you have to, just throw the healing orb for a little while. You know, rely on your helpful fellow support. Dive in, pump out a heal, and dive back out. You know, these are all things that you could do so that you can keep that team fight going, but you don't put yourself in jeopardy as well. Remember, a dead support provides no support. You don't want to be that guy. As far as some strengths and weaknesses with Moira, she's actually pretty strong against airborne heroes because of the range that her drain has. She can pull a Pharah and not go out of the sky. She's pretty decent against a lot of your dive heroes as well, because if they dive in on her, she can drain them dry. And, you know, this thing does pretty quick damage, pretty quick ticking damage, as you can see. It doesn't take long to kill off this Tracer. So, you know, if you have a Tracer or a Genji or something like that that's being harassing your team, you can kind of really harass him back, because if he dives in, you can sit there and deal damage, and if he tries to dive in, you shift behind him and continue to drain him dry again, drop that damage orb, stuff like that. Moira has a lot of potential in keeping herself alive. She can actually 1v1 a lot of your lower health heroes. I mean, obviously, if a Winston dives on top of her, she's not going to be able to get away very easily. Same if you have like a ball diving onto her, or a diva diving onto her, things like that. But you know, she can survive a lot of 1v1s. So, you know, don't be afraid to engage in a 1v1 if something is really threatening you. You can probably hold your own, or at least hold your own enough to get back to your team. As far as some weaknesses she has, she does struggle against your higher health targets. So, you know, when you have things that can do a lot of burst damage really quickly, a lot of her heals are heals over time, not burst heals. So, you know, whenever you have things like a Reaper prowling the field, it's a little hard for Moira to really keep up with Reaper. Same goes with like Roadhog, who can self-heal. Diva's kind of a threat to her a little bit, even though I just said, like, you know, like a couple of things with Diva. Like, Diva can absorb her damage orb with her D-Matrix. Orisa can absorb the damage orb with the Javelin Spin. You know, both of those things are a big problem. Mei can wall off the damage orb and stop it from coming in. These are all things that you need to keep in mind whenever you're playing Moira. These are things that will challenge you, that will kind of keep you from getting the max value you can get. So, you know, definitely keep those in mind. If you see those on the enemy team, just keep in mind they're the ones who are going to give you the most problems. And then the final tip I can give you is with Coalescence. Please don't just use this as a DPS cooldown. I see so many Moiras do this. I see so many Moiras be like, I'm going to coalesce and just run at the enemy team and try to kill everybody. Yes, you can do that. You could absolutely pop this and just come in and just start mowing things down. But this is a huge healing cooldown as well. Please don't forget that as a Moira. Don't forget that Coalescence pumps out a stupid amount of heals. If your team gets thrown into a grab and you're coming back from spawn and you know that they just got grabbed, use that Coalescence on your team. Don't be stupid and hold on to it. Don't be stupid and waste it on trying to kill the Reinhardt that's at half health and try to coalesce him down through a shield. I've seen that so many times I could scream. You need to go in, you need to use this as both an offensive and a defensive capability ultimate. Don't just waste it on offensive only. It is a huge waste of an ult if you do that all the time. But without further ado, that's the guide for Moira, guys. Hopefully it helps get you guys started with her. She's a relatively simple hero to play for the most part. You just got to understand the balances between the healing and the damage and the meters and stuff. It takes a little bit of practice, but she's not a relatively hard support to play. If you guys have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the stream. Please check the link in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.